Yo,
Hey, what's up?
not much. Whacked out on cold medicine, so this will be a fun show.
Awesome. I don't know if I've ever been this tired as I am right now. It's like
This is a great time to podcast.
fortunately it's the only time. I apologize for that.
One of these days, you'll realize this is more important.
What makes you feel better? I couldn't even get to Rocky 4.
Really? Oh, that's a bummer.
I ended up watching it. Like I bought it on it or Amazon or whatever, but
Yep.
could not get the wife to give me permission to go.
That's the one with the extended fight, right?
It's not. Yeah, I guess it's not. It just recut. I'll briefly talk about it, I guess, at some point
All right.
on the show. So next week, Ghostbusters, King Richard, Tick Tick Boom. Anything else?
I'm not sure if the Power of the Dog is next week or not.
Okay. Any classic ideas or not yet?
Not yet. No, I haven't got anything yet.
Get this ready.
There aren't many classic tennis movies. There are many great. I guess we could do All That Jazz. One of the few Broadway movies I know about. I'm not sure if that's any good or not.
I don't care. Whatever you want to do is fine. We've done Ghostbusters to death. So, that's fine. All right. You ready then?
Sure.
Welcome to the Everyone's a Critic movie review podcast. I'm your co-host, Bob Zarrell. With me, as always, is professional film critic Sean Patrick. Visit us at ihatecritics.net, everyone'scriticpodcast.com, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Our handle is CriticsPod. Subscribe to the show. Listen to the show at Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Alexa, all your podcatchers. If you give us a 5-star review, we will give you a copy, or the next person to do it will get a copy of I Spit on Your Grave.
Yep.
Correct?
Yes,
Blu-ray.
the 4K.
The whole
4K Blu-ray.
The whole packet? 4K?
Yep.
Yeah. And then you can listen to our Patreon and hear us talk about it. But I do want to talk about the best way to help support the podcast is patreon.com/criticspod. Releasing with this episode will be a new Patreon episode where we talk about Metallica's Black Album. And we'll be doing some more of those here, hopefully in the next few months. And what am I forgetting? TeePublic, ihatecritics.net. Click on the TeePublic link in the right-hand corner or go to teepublic.com and search CriticsPod.
We've got Jeff working on T-shirts to replace Kevin Spacey with Nicolas Cage in all of his movies.
Yeah, it was fun. I was at a wedding last night, and my uncle's a big movie buff, and he's always tries to find me and sit and talk movies. And he walks up with, "You've seen Pig, right?" And I was like, "Yeah." That was really good. He's like, "Good, me too." I was worried. And then we went on the Nicolas Cage discussion. He agrees with us. Either that or he was just drunk and agreeing with everything because that's what we do at weddings. But anyway, let's get the show started and we will pull up pictures for our YouTube listeners, viewers, and we will start with How do I do this? I totally forgot how to do it. There we go. I'm out of it, man. We will start with the Eternals.
Eternals from director Chloe Zhao stars a myriad of people that I could sit here and name, but it would take me all day. The story goes that the Eternals are a group of super beings, gods, if you will, that were created by a force in the universe to protect Earth and help bring about its population and protect it from these so-called deviants, these monsters that come along and eat humans essentially and try to feed on them essentially. So these guys protect humanity for millions of years. That they've killed all the deviants, then they have to sit there and wait and figure out what the rest of their mission is. While they're waiting, they have lives, and they go on and do stuff and families and so on. We see little bits of history of them here and there. Sorry, one second. I have a cold. They go on. They go on and they come to modern times, and they find that there's a new deviant out there running around that's come loose during an earthquake, and they've got to find it and kill it. But this deviant's a little bit different because it has one of the powers of one of the Eternals, and in fact has killed one of the Eternals, which is unusual. So they've got to team up again and bring everybody back together after they've been apart for several hundred years for whatever reason, and battle these deviants and find that they've got their actual mission that is coming about now that humanity has reached to this particular point. I'm indifferent to this movie mostly. It's fine. It's well made. Chloe Zhao is an incredible director. Of course, it's well made. The problem is there's a lot of characters, and not all of them are particularly great or stand out. And specifically, the guy Richard Madden. This guy, I'm face blind to this man. I could not pick him out of a lineup. If you put him next to Sebastian Stan, I couldn't tell you which one is which. I couldn't tell you. I couldn't find. If you walked up to me right now and said, "I'm Richard Madden," I'd go, "Who?" Like,
and is she the star?
He's the guy right in the middle of the picture.
Oh, right. I figured that much. But I mean, when you got Angelina Jolie and Salma Hayek, Kamal Nanjiani, I mean, three people, and for me, that are really, I know who they are, so that's where my attention immediately goes.
Well, and the other one in this here that I know you'll love is Barry Keoghan, who of course was in The Green Knight and the Killing of a Sacred Deer. He's one of the most interesting actors in the world, and and he's the most interesting actor in this movie. And I just kept wanting more Barry Keoghan. And I can see where they're building toward a sequel, and he's going to have a better part in the sequel. So I understand where they're going with that. But I was like, he's so much more interesting than everybody. And then, of course, Angelina Jolie is also more interesting than everybody. And her role is she's kind of sleepy throughout, and she's kind of sidelined. They give her character something that's kind of like dementia for the gods, or I don't know what they called it in the movie, but they had a specific name for it, where it means that she's out of action for a while, and she can only be part of the action here and there because of this condition that she has. So oftentimes you're wondering, when do I get to see Angelina Jolie? Really? And Salma Hayek is barely there.
Are you kidding me? So like the two biggest stars of the movie aren't in
it. Correct. Yeah. The stars are Richard Madden and Gemma Chan. They're out front doing most of the work.
Nice. Yeah. I didn't see it. I heard you could cut out 40 minutes and make it better by just getting rid of the love story.
I mean, because they have no chemistry is the main reason why that would work. There's zero chemistry between Richard Madden and Gemma Chan. They act like brother and sister, and they have a love scene in this movie. So it's kind of like there's no energy or life to that romance at all. And I just didn't buy into it at all.
Yeah, that said, I mean, I know it's been reviewed as the worst Marvel movie ever made. I don't know who said that or how many people said it, but I have seen that here and there. That said, I know the people that have seen it after all these reviews have come out have tend to like it because the bar got lowered. So I don't know if that matters, but
well, I mean, Marvel has created so many great movies that to be the least of a Marvel movie is still pretty good.
Right.
Like which Marvel movie can you point at and really say that's awful? Like I think there's very few of those that are very. This is certainly not awful. I don't think anybody can say this is awful and be genuine about it, because there's a lot of artistry that went into this, and Chloe Zhao is an incredible director. It's just that this story doesn't really resonate as deeply or as humanly as the other stories do, and these characters aren't as familiar as, you know, even Iron Man still had his own cartoon show when I was a kid. You know, like he still had some more familiarity than I would say the Eternals do, and name recognition, and that goes a long way towards building. You know, for the fans who aren't just, you know, Marvel obsessives, I think that our connection to these characters is limited.
I heard they referenced Superman and Batman in this movie.
They do. I know about the Superman reference. I'm not sure about the Batman reference, but I do.
Something about his butler Alfred. They mentioned that.
Yeah, I guess Kamal has a guy who's following him around everywhere.
So I mean, I don't know if Disney's planning on buying Fox.
Chloe Zhao had mentioned that Justice League was kind of or not Justice League, Man of Steel was kind of an influence for her in terms of putting a superhero story together. She likes that movie.
It's cool. So do I. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how I get how comic books work, because you can just start up a new lane or whatever. I don't really, maybe I actually don't get how comic books work. I really don't know how they keep, just as they make all these movies, they keep making the universe so convoluted and hard to live in. So I mean, every time you do this, and I think in this one, don't they make the Earth like a giant egg for one of these? so now what? But I don't know. It's cool. But then to your point of, you know, not being the worst Marvel movie is not necessarily a bad thing. That's also part of the problem with these movies, is they're very safe, and there's, you get these great directors who I'd like to see do something else. I mean, I'm happy for them career-wise, but it's just not the same,
Yeah. No, I get it. I don't hate this. I don't think anybody can honestly hate this. I think you've got to, if you're out there kind of saying this is terrible or this is an awful movie, I think you're being kind of dishonest. I think you just went in with an attitude. Mostly, this isn't bad. It's just not great.
Yeah, I haven't actually heard anybody say it's bad other than the reviews. So, very cool. Let's move on to Red Notice, the highest grossing Netflix movie of all time.
Now, you want a bad movie? This is a bad movie. Okay, if you're waiting around to find a bad movie, here's a bad movie for you. Ryan Reynolds, Dwayne Johnson, Gal Gadot star in Red Notice, a story about thieves looking to steal the eggs of Cleopatra, these legendary golden forged diamond encrusted eggs. There are two of them that are known and one that has been long missing. They starts with Ryan Reynolds' character trying to steal one out of a museum, and Dwayne Johnson is pretending to be a Interpol agent trying to capture him and stop him, while he's being led around by Gal Gadot's character, who's the number one art thief in the world, because we get the joke of Ryan Reynolds is the second best art stealer in the world, which is a joke they did in McHale's Navy, by the way. just and so much worse, but still, they're both bad. They're both bad jokes, because that joke is just derivative. But Tim Curry, the joke of that movie was that Tim Curry was always the second most dangerous terrorist in the world. They kept doing that joke over and over again. But that they don't linger on that joke, I guess. I don't know. I hate this movie.
You know what the problem with this movie is? It's like they filmed it 3 different times. Once with Ryan Reynolds on a green screen, and then they brought in Dwayne Johnson separately to film on a green screen, and then Gal Gadot on a green. Like, none of them were together. They all do what they do great.
Yeah.
But they're just out there on an island when they're supposed to be this, like, buddy cop. I don't know what you would call it. It's a jewel thief movie, I suppose. But there's no, like, there's no chemistry, obviously, but they're still all doing what they do great. It just never meshes together. mean, even the marketing for it, which the marketing is way better for it than the movie, but the marketing is kind of how the movie comes off. Is just very separate, and they're in all the scenes together. So I'm not saying that's not there. I'm not saying this is what they did, but it just feels like there's something missing.
They're all doing their shtick on autopilot, and she's just trying to be one of the boys, just kind of doing the same shtick that they're both kind of doing in their own way. And she's like a combination of both of them. And they're each he's doing Ryan Reynolds, he's doing The Rock, and I'm sorry, I'm tired. I'm bored with this. I've been here. I've seen this before. I've seen this movie 1,000 times. This humor, by the way, this stuff where this highly referential rat-a-tat humor where we're trying to throw 3 jokes at the wall, hoping one sticks. I'm over it. I'm done. I've watched this movie 15 times since 2005. This movie has been made over and over and over again. I think they made it once with Tom Hardy and Chris Pratt. I know, not Chris, the other Chris, whatever his name is. Chris Pine and Reese Witherspoon. I think that was this movie too. I'm not sure. This could be. I feel like this humor is choking comedy. This approach to humor is choking comedy now. It's choked it to death. It's done it over and over and over again, and I'm just done with it. I'm done with this movie. I'm done with these characters. I'm finished.
Well, I think you're being too easy on it because I don't think it's bad because it's worn out. I think it's bad because it's bad. You know, if this was entertaining and it was worn out, that'd be one thing. This isn't even as boring. You know, it's not as fun as it should be. I mean, the Bodyguard Wives movies, I know you don't love them, but they're not. They at least they work. You know, this is full blown, just bad and boring. You know, it's that you could argue is worn out, and you might not like it because of that. But this one is it's just not good, and I don't understand how you can screw this up. I mean, I would watch all 3 of these people.
It doesn't live up to the idea of these 3 people in the same movie.
Right.
It's so rote and so predictable, and the jokes aren't funny, and everybody's just doing shtick, and I hate it so much. And I kind of felt this way, I felt this way about Free Guy and about Jungle Cruise, whereas like they were so benign that I just didn't care. But this is bringing out like it. Yeah, this is bringing out like a genuine hatred now for this style of humor.
And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it is just worn out. I mean, I'm not saying it's not worn out, but I just think there's more to it than just being worn out. I think it's like genuinely bad. And that's kind of just a real bummer because, again, I'd watch these 3 people hang out and do it, not even be in a movie. You know? I'd watch them having dinner. So, give me that.
Yeah, that's the classic Gene Siskel quote. What is this better than a movie of these same people having dinner together? And
that's right. Yeah, I absolutely.
This isn't the worst movie of the year. I've still seen Serpent this year, and I've still seen. Oh God, I can't remember the name of that other piece of shit. But this would be like number 10 on my worst movies of the year.
Yeah, I don't know. I have a hard time with. Yeah, I don't know where I'd put it. Tell me it's gonna be more forgettable, which is really just that's kind of the worst thing you can say about a Ryan Reynolds, a Rock, or Gal Gadot movie is forgettable because they are not forgettable actors. All right. Hopefully it picks up from here. Spencer.
It does pick up from here because this movie is wonderful. Kristen Stewart stars as Princess Diana. This is set over Christmas in 1990 where she's on the verge of breaking away from the royal family, but she's got to go do the whole Christmas thing. And we kind of get a sense of her entire life through this one weekend of Christmas at this castle, Sandringham. Where she knows that Charles is cheating with Camilla, and she's aware that pretty much everybody knows about her problems, about how she's not eating, about how she's suffering from bulimia. and she's just so tired and sick of everything. And she's got, she's at this like fork in the road. And what does she do? Does she kill herself? Does she try and leave? Is it possible to leave this? Can you leave this life? And the conflict is just so strong and so emotional. And she is so incredible. And so is Pablo Larraín, the director here, who just does an amazing job of creating this cage. I mean, the concept of a gilded cage was built for Princess Di. I mean, she's trapped. She's trapped inside of this cage that, while yes, she has all the privilege in the world and she has all the money and she can do just about anything, she really can't do anything because the strictures of royal life. I mean, every single day she's told what she has to wear. She hasn't, and not just one time a day, like 3 times a day, she's told that she has to wear. And granted, yes, I know it's the highest fashion in the world, and you shouldn't complain about having everything. But when your life is this controlled, when somebody is there watching you get dressed or telling you to you can't do this or you can't do that, and then you're forced to live with this man and see this man who is your husband, but he's also hates you and you hate him, and you're not allowed to leave. I bought in on the conflict. I bought in on her emotion. I bought in on her on how sympathetic I feel towards her. And there are just so many lovely, lovely touches in this movie. There's this point where, and Pablo Larraín is just brilliant at doing this, creating these moments where music and life come together. There's this like dream sequence where she's just bounding through the halls of Sandringham, dancing, and everybody's just kind of staring at her and lost and confused, like, how could she do this? It's a dream sequence, but it's still beautiful. And then there's Sally Hawkins, and she and Sally Hawkins have this moment on the beach together that is just so beautiful and so human and so lovely, where she just says to her, you don't need another doctor, you just need to be loved. Beautiful.
Yeah. I mean, and you go from, as a movie fan, not being able to stand like Kristen Stewart from the Twilight movies, only for her to turn around and be one of the best actors out there.
She's incredible. Yeah.
I mean, she's constant. I haven't seen this, so I'm not commenting on this movie, but she's constantly knocking out of the park when I do see her in something. Even in something bad, she usually shines in it. Yeah, I wouldn't, if you had ever asked me who should play Princess Diana, I probably wouldn't have thought of Kristen Stewart. And even looking at this picture that we have up here on YouTube, I'm just like, yeah, I can see it. I don't know why I would have never seen it before.
Yeah.
But this sounds pretty amazing and sounds like a great performance. And I'm sure I've heard she might be up for awards later on.
I sure hope so. She deserves it. This is a really great movie.
Let's move on to Belfast.
Belfast stars Catriona Balfe and Jamie Dornan. They're parents to a young boy named Buddy, who was being raised in Belfast in 1969. And if you're familiar with Belfast in 1969, it's not a very safe place. The war between the Protestants and the Catholics is becoming violent. And this couple and their children live on this street where they live. It's an integrated street. There are Catholics and Protestants living on the same street, and so there's a great deal of conflict because Catholics especially are very upset, or Protestants are very upset that Protestants and Catholics are living on the same street. So this street becomes sort of a battlefield place where he's the father, Jamie Dornan, is trying to raise his family, but he also can't find a job in Belfast, so he has to work in England. So he leaves for weeks at a time to go work in construction and then come back and try and raise his family. He also has long-time tax problems, so they're trying to get him out of that. His wife is trying to keep the bills paid and get him out of that, but it keeps building and building and building all this pressure. Meanwhile, we're spending the entire time with the kid, Jude Hill, who's the central character here, and seeing all this through his eyes, and that's very compelling. And it's quite warm and genuine in that way. I don't necessarily connect with this very deeply. I appreciate the artistry. I know the choice of black and white is sweet, and then the way the kid loves going to the movies, and they use color to show that the movie he's watching and then they cut back to him and it's black and white. And it's a very interesting approach. I don't really understand the reasoning behind it. I guess just kind of the idea the outside world is more colorful than it is here. I get it. I'm struggling to really be that compelled by it.
Sounds like it's No Jojo Rabbit, another movie where you have to live through a kid, which is a great idea. Having a kid be at the center of, in the background, horrible stuff's going on. That's a neat way, but it's been done forever. I mean, hell, The Simpsons did it. South Park does stuff like that. I mean, it's all of it different ways, but it's definitely an idea that's been done.
Yeah,
but
it's well made. It's sweet in many ways. It's got some very strong conflict and good performances. Kenneth Branagh is a terrific director. I think this one got built up too high for me. Like I was told to expect way too much because this is apparently the Oscar frontrunner.
Really?
And I don't see that. Yeah. Apparently people haven't seen Tick, Tick, Boom yet. I'm the only one. So I'll talk about that next week.
Excited about something now. Yeah, this looks like something where you say everything about it's great. I just don't care.
I recommend it. I recommend people see it, but it does seem kind of like the most mainstream idea of an Oscar movie, like the one that this is the one that's going to make everybody happy. Everybody can watch this and everybody can like it and everybody can see something that they appreciate. And that to me is playing it safe.
Well, and that's also, I mean, we should remember this because you're giving it a positive review. If it does in fact win the Oscar, don't be surprised if, I'm sure I'll see it at some point. I can see myself turning on a movie that I like. Okay, when it goes off to win an Oscar. I know we turned on that one with oh my God, Green Book or something like that. We liked it when we reviewed it, but by the time it won the Oscar, like fuck that movie. Anyway, that's Belfast. What is the French Dispatch? Wes Anderson.
The French Dispatch is a Wes Anderson movie. It's set in a small town in France called Ennui, which Ennui, France is pretty great. And it unfolds in four stories, I guess, because there's a framing story about Bill Murray being the owner of this French newspaper that is somehow the offshoot of a Lawrence, Kansas newspaper that has their own French office for some reason, which is funny in its way. Everything about this movie is funny while you're watching it. Trying to explain why it's funny later doesn't make any sense, so I won't try. But wonderful characters. Owen Wilson plays he's got these wonderful reporters. So one of them is Owen Wilson, who gives us a bicycling tour of ennui, and it's various scenes that are very reminiscent of the word ennui, which I love. I love the visual joke of that. I love the way that Wes Anderson plays it without it being a joke. It's wonderful. Absolutely great. Then there's Tilda Swinton plays another reporter who's covering the art world, and it's a send-up of modern art. Benicio del Toro is a prisoner who's kind of psychotic, who becomes this art world celebration. He's this wonderful artist. Everybody loves his art, and he kind of goes out of his way to make it difficult for people to appreciate his art. Adrian Brody plays one of the people trying to buy and promote his art, and he gets sent up very well, very funny way. Then Jeffrey Wright has this amazing story at the end where it becomes this very low-key action movie taking place, but with a very Wes Anderson style. There's a car chase and everything in this, and it's so wonderful, and it's so witty, and it's so fun. The least interesting part, I guess, would be Timothée Chalamet, and that not that he's bad. There's nothing bad in this movie, but he and I can't. Why am I struggling to remember her name right now? I don't. Anyway, Frances McDormand. There it is. It took me a second. They have a thing going on. He's a college revolutionary, and she's a reporter, and they kind of have an affair. But it's good, but it's not nearly as interesting as the other stories. Everything about this movie, though, I really enjoyed. It's really smart and funny and a great pace and just exciting, interesting characters. I dig it a lot.
Where do you rank it with the rest of the Wes Anderson movies, or is it just like they're all the same? So
I would rank this near the top. I think this is up there with Royal Tenenbaums. For me, like I said, I think this is his funniest movie. I think this is one where he's making a genuine, straight ahead comedy, and his style, his idea, his approach to comedy is so unusual. It's very it's very it's just very him. And I really enjoy the way he approaches comedy.
I mean, I like Royal Tenenbaums a lot. I think Rushmore is great. After that, I'm just kind of like, same thing. But I stopped watching them, so I can't keep saying that. But if you're comparing it to Royal Tenenbaums, I might give it a shot then. If it's
I recommend it highly.
close to that good.
It's one of my favorite things I've seen this year.
That's awesome. What about Chappie? I mean, Finch.
And right there, you just leveled this movie.
I didn't watch it. That was my first thought, and I'm like, there's not coming back from that.
Finch stars Tom Hanks in a post-apocalyptic world where the ozone layer has gone away. It's hard to go outside. If you put your hand in the sun, it'll burn immediately. He lives in this. He's living in some kind of solar station, so he's got plenty of power. So he's got electricity. So he builds himself a robot that he builds specifically because he knows he's not going to live for very much longer. Resources are growing tighter. He doesn't have much longer to go, but he has this dog and he wants this dog to be taken care of. So he literally builds this robot to take care of this dog. He like builds it with artificial intelligence specifically related to teaching it how to care properly for a dog. The robot is he's Finch. The robot's name is Jeff, and the dog is named Dog. And basically, I think somebody just thought the idea of Tom Hanks building a robot to take care of a dog is a pretty cute idea. And he's also got another robot dog as well on top of that. So he's got like 3 Wilsons in this movie. So imagine Tom Hanks and 3 Wilsons. It's great. But this robot talks. So that kind of, instead of Wilson not being able to talk, he talks in this one. And he's kind of cute. I think this doesn't completely work for me. I think it's well made, but I love Tom Hanks. I think he's great. I didn't care in the end about this.
Sounds like the dumbest premise in the history of movies. I'm gonna build a robot to take care of my dog in a post-apocalyptic world.
He loves the dog. What?
But that's fine. I don't care if you do it. I don't want to watch the movie though. That's what I'm getting at. You can talk about it. And if you're in that situation,
is it not wholesome to hear Tom Hanks build a robot to take care of a dog?
Yeah, but then I'm done. You said it. There's your line. Now I gotta watch it for 90 minutes or whatever it is. That line covers all of it. My imagination is going to do a better job, and it's going to last less. Yeah, I mean this
it's
almost looks like it looks like a joke.
It's not as annoying as Chappie.
That's fair. Yeah.
So it's got that going for it.
Well, then I read your review, and literally the only thing I've ever heard about this movie is what you've told me. Like, I've never seen any advertising for it.
It's so weird, right? What is Apple doing? What are they doing?
And this is the second Tom Hanks movie they kind of did that with, right?
Yeah,
what was the one earlier in the year?
Yeah, the World War II movie.
Right. I don't. You would
and then
think
Coda,
maybe.
Like Coda's a great movie. They got it and they buried it. Palmer is kind of the same way. They got it, they buried it. Maybe I don't understand their approach. I really don't.
They're trying to get the word of mouth thing going, and then people just start getting Apple products. Either that or they like their exclusivity so much that they don't want you to know.
Maybe you're like an Apple user. You can't escape this. I don't know.
I'm an Apple user, and I've never seen this anywhere until I Googled it to get this picture for YouTube. Yeah, I don't understand.
That poster does look like some like they made up for like another movie.
SNL or like an SNL sketch. Yeah. I don't even know what else to say other than our classic is Castaway.
Oh, Castaway. Is this based on a true story?
Yes.
He stars as a guy named Chuck Nolan who works for FedEx. He's obsessed with time, and that's kind of a theme. He ends up getting on this plane that crashes and lands on this island and lives there for 4 years, taking care of himself and teaching himself to fish and to do what he needs to do to survive. This is a really good movie from the most part. Like through the start of the movie, it's actually really compelling. Like the first 20 minutes or so really race by. It's got a great pace to it. Once we're on the island, it does slow down a little bit, but there's so many incidents in this movie that are so memorable. Like anytime he hurts himself, or the tooth and the ice skate, like are very memorable. Then he's got the volleyball that he found in all the FedEx packages that washed up on the island, and he names it Wilson. He gives it a face and starts talking to it, and Tom Hanks just has a lot of personality. So in that way, that does work. He's the right actor for this, for my money. He really does do very well in a role like this. I like everything except the ending of this movie. Pisses me off every time. Not about him and Helen Hunt, because I don't mind that they don't get together. My issue is that we've got this character that that Zemeckis decides to establish in the opening of the movie. This woman who lives on a ranch in Texas who is making angel wings, and she remains prominent. Her angel wing creations remain prominent through the movie, but we establish early on that she's essentially sent something to her soon-to-be ex-husband we can assume are divorce papers. And then we come back around at the end, and he's got this package that had the angel wings on it that he's kept the entire time, and he takes it back to her house, and he finishes the movie at a literal crossroads. And I'm just like, oh, fuck you.
Yeah.
It almost plays like they established this woman specifically to be his consolation prize because he can't have Helen Hunt.
Right. I don't like this movie, but I think Tom Hanks' performance was amazing. Is that weird? I mean, I don't know. It's got a little too lone survivory for me in that it's a true story, but they take liberty, they use that to their advantage, and stuff that's not necessarily believable happens, and be like, oh, it's a true story though, it happened. So, but I do like the way it starts. I wish there was a way to, I don't know, the pacing does get weird when he's on the island, but you're right. Not watching it however many years later, or about almost 21 years later. Jesus. There are so many memorable moments. So there's that. So, I mean, that matters. I mean, you don't last that long and be that iconic in terms of, I mean, everybody knows what Wilson means to this day.
Right.
Whether you've seen the movie or not. And that's an impressive feat. So, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I mean, I guess there's no right or wrong, but I just don't like it that much. But I think Tom Hanks this is one of his best, maybe one or two best performances that he's ever had. Maybe top 3 for sure in my mind.
Do you find like you think the odds are stacked against him too high?
A little bit, and then the way that I don't know, and I suppose that raft that he makes at the end could have made it, but I feel like they would have. I don't know. I guess what you said is right. I just think the odds were stacked too high, and it had me not just kind of buying it. And then And then the fact that people go, but it's a true story, it happened. Like, so was Lone Survivor, and that didn't happen.
That didn't happen that way. No.
He basically made himself Rambo. It's ridiculous. This isn't that bad. I'm not going to say that, because there's definitely scenes that are real situations you're going to have to deal with. And I know he made a raft and floated back to land, so I know what happened. The way they showed the movie,
I loved, but again, there's a little bit of a very smart visual early on in this movie when they're giving us a tour of his life. Visually, they pass over a wall of photos, and you see that he's like a professional when it comes to boating and being a captain. So he would know these things. He would know how to do this.
Oh, no, I'm not saying. I mean, clearly he made it back, so it really happened. I understand that. The particular raft he was on made it look more impressive. I mean, it's already impressive. It just was almost unbelievable the way, because it just was all rickety. I don't know. Maybe I'm being too hard on it, but that's not. I mean, I agree with you also with the crossroads way of ending it.
That pissed me off so much. It's just a guy standing at a literal crossroads, like, we get it, Bob. We understand. We know what you're saying. It's like he doesn't have to stand literally at the crossroads. We get it.
I mean, for my money, I would have almost rather had the Castaway stuff shortened, and I mean, you have the Helen Hunt stuff go a little longer, and that dilemma, and that there's a lot there that could have been pretty awesome, and not awesome, but just compelling, intriguing. But instead, they just kind of, at this point, you're just happy he made it back, and everything else is just kind of, they just rushed through it. And
I would have ditched the whole Angel Wing thing. I would have ditched that whole subplot. I would have got rid of that whole thing, and the movie would not. It would start with him in Russia, and it would end with him having that conversation with his friend about moving on from Helen Hunt. That would to me would be a better way to end this movie.
Right, because that's I mean, when something like that happens and you come back, and if I disappeared, I mean, it's funny. I'm literally listening to a podcast today that was talking about a castaway situation, and if you're gone for 2 years and your wife goes and remarried, or 4 years, whatever it is, what do you do? How do you, who's wrong? Nobody's wrong. Everybody in the situation is a victim. Every single person in that situation. And it's just, that's a dilemma that I don't even know how you just kind of got to move on from, but it's still getting to that point where you're moving on that's a process. And here it just kind of like, you can't have me. All right, go to the next scene and movie's over. Yeah. Not that that's wrong, but I think you could have had a more compelling movie.
Well, especially when they, and again, maybe this is just my perception of this. Maybe I'm being unfair, but I felt like they set up the Bettina character at the end to be his consolation prize, or fate meant that he would bring Chuck to this point. I don't know if this really happened or if this was a made up part of the story. I don't care. In the movie, it feels false. In the movie, it feels like, see, fate was looking out for him. He didn't get this girl, but he gets this girl, and she's just as hot, and she makes cool stuff on a farm in Texas. I'm like, screw you, movie.
Yeah, it's not about, people aren't prizes.
Exactly.
And
that's what it felt like. That's what it felt like to me.
Absolutely. And that's what they were going for. But that, if you'd spent more time with the dilemma, and like you said, throw away the Angel Wing thing, and then you meet somebody new, and then whatever, there's no prize. It's just natural, and it came together the way it should be. I think there's a really fantastic movie here, and I think you already got the performance. I mean, again, like I said, this is one of my favorite Tom Hanks performances ever in a movie I don't really like that much. So,
and you really hate method acting, so I mean, because he had to lose all that weight.
Right. I'm a big De Niro fan. He used to do that. I just, when you can walk and you have to be carried off set, that's when and whether that's even true or not, I don't know. but I heard it was, so I'm just going to run with it.
I like this movie for the most part. I think much of it is incredible, and I really did kind of I got into the Wilson thing. I always get into the Wilson thing. It always resonates with me for some reason. Even though Wilson's just a volleyball,
Right.
He invests so much in that I do buy into it. So he's incredible, but I hold back on loving this movie because of that framing device and that ending. It's just so on the nose.
Right. And I think for me, it's more what I want. And I see that like right there, they just kind of move it around a little bit. You can almost do a director's cut and probably make it happen. But I think I'm holding that against the movie rather than judging it for what it is as well. But again,
to your point though about what this movie could have been, the scenes between him and Helen Hunt are incredible. Like those two connect so deeply, especially that scene at the end. Their final scene together is absolutely incredible.
No, I agree. I guess I wanted more of it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's why I'm backing you up on that.
Oh, thank you for that. Yeah, but again, Tom Hanks this is the one movie, this and probably Philadelphia, where I don't see Tom Hanks in it. I don't see the guy from Big or The Burbs, and he disappears into the role. And when you're that famous, it's really hard to do, and he really does for me in this movie. So I gotta give him credit for that for sure.
Yeah, it's an absolutely full-bodied performance.
I didn't watch it from '91, but we had Cape Fear and Kafka. I don't know if you're
Kafka. I think that's the Soderbergh movie. I think.
Yes,
I think I've seen that.
I have not.
It's been years though, so I don't really remember it. But
we had Cape Fear as a classic a few years ago.
Yeah,
we were underwhelmed.
Very much so.
I think,
Robert De Niro is no Robert Mitchum apparently.
More like Robert Englund. I think that's how Ebert reviewed it. Is he's just essentially playing Freddy Krueger.
Yeah, pretty much.
Next week we got Ghostbusters Afterlife, King Richard, Tick Tick Boom, which now you have me really excited to see, and possibly Power of the Dog. You don't know for sure yet.
Yeah.
Do you want to do all that jazz, or do you want to sit and think about it a little bit?
I don't know, because I don't know how long all that jazz is. If it's 3 hours,
let's not commit to all that jazz yet. We don't have a classic yet. I don't know what we'll watch for '91, but Addams Family, Fievel Goes West, and Beauty and the Beast.
Have you seen Chicago? You've seen Chicago, right? With Renee Zellweger?
Yeah.
Okay. Trying to think of Broadway movies, because Tick Tick Boom is about Broadway. Sort of.
Was King Richard ever on Broadway? Didn't Al Pacino play him a couple times? I mean, I'd do Chicago if you want. Or we could think about that too. Just let me know what we're going to do. And then For the Boys also turns 30. Again, I don't know how much time we're going to spend on it. But before we go to Flickchart, I just want to remind you to go to our Patreon page, patreon.com/criticspod. Best way to support the podcast. Give us a 5-star review, preferably on Apple Podcasts. We'll read the review on the air. The next one's going to get a copy of I Spit on Your Grave. If you want some of our TeePublic merch, go to IHateCritics.net and click on the link in the upper right-hand corner to get some of our podcast merch. Let's go to Flickchart and play that for a little bit. Here we go. We'll start with The Fountain or Can't Hardly Wait.
Because The Fountain is that one where Hugh Jackman just cries the entire movie, and I'm like, but Can't Hardly Wait isn't very good either.
Right.
I don't know which way to go on that. Where are you going on that?
I'm going The Fountain just because it tries harder.
Yeah, I guess. All right.
I'd rather go for a swing and a miss than a bunch. That doesn't make any sense. The Sweet Hereafter or Last King of Scotland?
The Sweet Hereafter. The Last King of Scotland is fine. It's the Sweet Hereafter that was much more emotionally involving.
The Master, Beverly Hills Cop.
The Master.
Sorry. Every other movie he does is good. This is one of the others. Holy cow, I actually want a coin flip. Sorry. Burning movie hell for that one. The Nightmare Before Christmas, Demolition Man.
I mean, Demolition Man is just so much fun. It's stupid, but it's so much fun.
I agree. I was in Dallas a couple of weeks ago. I have to go back tomorrow. And I had nothing to do late at night, and I just wanted to go to sleep with something. I put that on. It had been forever since I've seen it. Movie's still as much fun as it was then. Scream 2, Machete.
Scream 2.
It's fine. I don't have a connection to Machete. The Bourne Ultimatum, Air Bud.
Bourne Ultimatum.
Tough one.
Yeah.
WWE movie, See No Evil, or Stephen King's
That's a
Bag of
TV
Bones.
movie that I've never seen or heard of.
Oh, the Bag of Annie. Yeah, I suppose that's See No Evil or Creed.
That just got a lot easier.
Flickshark's trying to get me to talk about Rocky 4. They do Demolition Man, and then they do Creed. I didn't go see it in the theater just because I'm not going to badmouth anybody. I'm married. I'm busy. I'm never home, so I shouldn't have gone. It was the right thing to do. So I didn't get to go see Rocky 4 with it, Balboa versus Drago in the theater, but I did watch it this morning instead of Finch. And I'm still trying to decide. It almost kind of took the fun out of 4 and tried to make it Rocky. And
really?
At least I was thinking that. And then they still have the montages in there, though. So part of the extended cut is, you know how at the beginning of all the Rocky movies, they show the end of the previous Rocky movie?
Yeah.
They show a lot more Rocky 3. They show him lose to Clubber Lang. Then they show him train with Apollo. Then they show him beat Clubber Lang. So there's like 10 minutes that instead of 30 seconds or whatever it was. Maybe it's not a full 10 minutes, but that's part of the extended scene. They cut the rub on all together, which is fine.
Good.
But then they focus too. I don't know. I guess it's better because it does get fun. There's one part of the fight where Rocky's fighting Drago, and he gets knocked down, and then you have this voiceover, Stallone, clearly from today, doing a narration of himself. Get up, you're okay. He's talking to himself, but they don't do it again. They do it the one time.
Yeah,
and it's just kind of odd. Clearly, it takes like 15 to 20 seconds for him to go through the scene, and obviously he's not counted out because he wins the fight at the end.
Right.
I don't know. I kind of appreciated the stupidity of it, and I like it better when it knows it's bad. I know you have situations like The Room or whatever, and it's better when you're laughing at them instead of laughing with them. But in Rocky 4, I want to know that they know they're making a cheesy, fun action movie. And this kind of makes me feel like he didn't know he was making a cheesy, fun action movie. I'll probably watch it again because I'm trying to process my thoughts. I'm also tired as hell. So I got to go to work in a little bit. So there's that too. I don't know. I'm sure at some point when you have time, you'll give it a shot. But I'm glad I watched it. All right.
Yeah. I've seen neither of these, so.
Oh, good. Neither am I. All right. House of Flying Daggers and the Fabulous Baker Boys.
House of Flying Daggers.
Fabulous Baker Boys should have been so good, and it was so bad.
So bad.
It's kind of like Red Notice. Red Notice. You got those 3 actors you think would be awesome.
Right?
It's just kind of blah.
Yeah, exactly.
3 billboards outside Ebbing, Missouri, and American Werewolf in London.
3 Billboards.
Yeah, American Werewolf in London is just, it's like that, as good as it gets. Last King of Scotland. Movies that are probably supposed to be good, but I have no real interest in going back. I'm sure at some point we will. But we haven't done
I feel
it. 27 Dresses, Beavis and Butthead to America.
That's tough for me, actually. I love both those movies. Like both of those are like comfort movies to me. I really enjoy both of those. So I don't really know where to come down on that.
What should you watch right now? If you had to put a movie in right this second, which one would it be?
I guess it would be Beavis and Butthead because it's shorter.
Yeah, I was going to let you just pick because I think they're both good, but I'm not really married to either one of them. I thought you were going to go 27 Dresses.
I thought about it. It's close. It's close.
This is weird. The American President, I now pronounce you fucking Larry.
The American President.
One of the safest movies of all time. American Pie, G.I. Jane.
American Pie.
Yeah. Sherlock Holmes, Fargo.
Fargo.
Yeah. One of the best movies of all time. 3 Billboards, Horton Hears a Who.
3 Billboards.
Absolutely. Robin Hood with an Old Man and Girl Interrupted.
Girl Interrupted. Good point.
They're making Gladiator 2 with Russell Crowe.
Are they really?
I know they're talking about making it, but I don't know how you do it with Russell Crowe at this point.
He's dead.
Oh, that's true. Forgot about how the movie ends. I just know Ridley Scott's making a new one. I'm just like, I was thinking like Russell Crowe's really old and fat now, and I don't know how he gets in shape for that.
I don't know because he's dead. So how does he?
How much I love that movie. Final Fantasy: The Spirits Within, Life of Pi.
Life of Pi.
Contagion, Heathers.
That's tough. That's tough. Contagion feels like too real right now, and Heathers is just always great to me. I'm picking Heathers because I'd rather watch that right now.
I agree. And there's just, maybe it's nostalgia, I don't know, but I do.
Love my dead gay son. never fails to make me laugh. Never fails. That guy delivers that so perfectly.
Superman Returns, Clerks 2.
Clerks 2.
Troll Hunter, Slither.
Troll Hunter.
Really?
I'm not a big fan of Slither.
I've never seen either one of them, but was Troll Hunter any good?
Yeah, it's not bad.
Unforgiven, Singing in the Rain.
Whew. 2 very, very different movies. 2 very, very good movies. Unforgiven.
Yeah, it's nothing against Singing in the Rain. Just I'm more of the Unforgiven demographic than a Singing in the Rain. But, the Wolverine, 21 Jump Street.
21 Jump Street.
Hellraiser, Dirty Rotten Scoundrels.
Neither.
End of the show. All right, we'll see you next week.
All right, cool.
Bye.